In this episode, I'm talking to Daan De Wever, the CEO of Dstny. What fascinated me most about our talk with Dan is that Dstny hit 300 million in revenue, and yet Dan is already looking at pivoting completely. He is seeing how AI is changing the industry and the audience's behavior, and isn't afraid to start almost anew. In 40 or so minutes, we talked about the early days, what was important in Destiny's growth to 1 million, 2 million, 4 million, 6 million, and on, and how he still uses the same operating systems, the same frameworks that he used back then today. We've obviously had to touch on the future with AI and how the future with AI looks like. And we also talked about what it means to steer a $300 million ship with over 1,000 employees in a new direction. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Dan. Thanks for joining me. And I thought we would start our conversation a bit with the early beginnings of your journey. So, because my audience is mainly founders, up to 10, 20 million ARR, I'm interested a bit in your early journey. So, if you look now back to the beginnings to 2008, what do you find was something that you believe was absolutely crucial for your growth from zero and then going past the first million, getting to that first 10 millions? What would you say was crucial in your growth?
Yeah, first, thanks for inviting me. Um, yeah, looking back in 2008, it's already it's already 15 years ago, even more. Time is flying. Um, it was like as I believe that first €1 million is probably more difficult as growing 50 million afterwards. And the point is like probably a lot of you listeners, you have like an idea, you're a founder, you see a market, and then you say, mid and market, you're convinced that you can drive a lot of value to the end customer. You need to fund something because you need to have some funds, and then you need to launch, and you have like the craziness of because there is a cash drain in the back of you, and you need to move on. Now the point is, if I look back within Destiny, the good thing was by being in that context, um, looking backward was not an option. The only thing what I could do was looking forward, because we were in a space what you need to create. It was quite cash draining environment, but you need to pivot, and you need to pivot super fast, and to see like if you have an idea, can I really validate that this one? Is there a market to do this? And I think one of the things that I did when I look back in the days, my idea was really my focus customer was like a mid-sized company, because I was looking to the industry, I was looking to what my competitors were doing, and I was looking like I say, I believe that this customer is massively underserved, and by in that back in the days by incumbents, telco players, and let's create like a service provider with technology who really can address this market. And even today, I think that story resonates. I think you, first of all, choosing who's your customer. I think a lot of I've been investor also in a lot of startups, and often what you see is like we shoot with hail, and then we will see what works, but it will take a lot of time. So validate your market was key. Now, operationally, if I look my job to be today in a company more as 1,000 people, international, in a lot of countries as a CEO, I think as a founder, you need to have the agility, the creativity. You need to wear every hat of the company. I have done HR. I have done, and it looks cliche, but that's the reality of being a founder. Like you cannot like you need to do everything, and you work like as hell. You push. It's over during the weekend. I didn't have kids back in the days, so there was like I could work 24/7. But for me, my belief was there, and then you run and you push and took my course, knocking on doors, try to convince my customers, because my belief was like, okay, we can building the biggest and the greatest technology, but at the end, I think on the internet there are a bunch, dozens of startups who fail to what may be great technology, but the biggest importance is that you find customers who are ready to pay for your service and see the value. So a lot of it, I look back, the way how we survived was from day one, really pushing on sales. And that was also give us the opportunity to grow from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2 million, from 2 to 4 million, from 4 to 7 or 8 million, or of 8 million from 8 to 16 million. So we doubled year on year, but it was pure focus on new sales. Even account management didn't exist, churn didn't exist because all the customers were young, but where we were like really focusing on sales and and that made that we could survive, that you could become a positive company, a growing company. Um, but I think like we always underestimate the value of having a very clear validation of who's your customer, and what is in the go-to market? What is the way? Are we need to go via direct touch? Do we need to go via partner channel or via digital channels? It needs to be super clear, and you need to learn fast. Try, pivot. It doesn't work, kill it, and find the ways how to grow your business. That was for me, I think, the key part of Destiny.
So you mentioned validating who your customer is, and so you did that validation through basically through sales. So tried selling. If it happens, it works. If it doesn't happen, you pivot. You try something else until you
But
find something.
and even more, sometimes you sell something even when it doesn't exist,
Okay.
because validation is sometimes also like you need to dare to just like say, hey, we have this, or we're gonna launch this, and already the responsiveness of the market is a validation if they are willing to pay. So I don't believe that your product needs to be already perfect. I think you need to launch things even before, and maybe sometimes build them after you have sold them. And you see a lot of companies say we need to build first, and then we're gonna sell. The risk is that you spend a lot of money in R&D and in engineering, and that you lose a little bit your customer facing with your customer connection. And then you so we I think sometimes you need to be very, call it, bullish in saying, yes, we do it, we deliver this, and then from fuck, we have sold this, and I have no clue. Now we have a time pressure because we need to deliver, and in a way, our product was not ready. But that's also part of the survival.
Yeah, I can relate to that because we had exactly that situation. So I run marketing and growth at a 2 million ARR company now, and we basically did a lot of the same thing in the past 6 months, basically just like announcing features and promising features we didn't have at the time, and then having the developers who work overtime over the holidays, whatever it took to basically build that so we could deliver. um, how would you say did you have clear KPIs? What means a validated product, or it's more like a gut feel kind of a thing? So when you try to push sales on your product, and then did you have a feel for, like, I need to close? Did you have a clear sort of a goal oriented approach, like I need to sell 30 so that I will know that this is working? Was it like math based, like if I can sell 30, the math works, so I know that there is something there? Or was more of a gut feel approach on, like, let's try if it works? Like, I got now, like, on this kind of a, like, with this approach, I got too much um objections, so let's try something else. Like, how did you approach that? Was it more of a gut feel kind of a thing, or more like data driven, like I need 30 sales?
No, I think it was by far not gut driven. I think guts is important in it's an important part in the way how you take a decision. But in
Yep.
my belief, the strength point is I'm a quite analytical person, so I need to understand the underlying drivers. And so we were very focused on like milestone driven, where you say, okay, if I reach that, then only I will start to invest in the next step. Often what you see in startup is that we try to start, we launch a lot of new things. I think the reason why we survived is because we learned to sequence more. Can you work sequential, where you say, I push myself up till that goal, and when that's reached, that's the only proof point where I go for the next. and I will not accept to do anything before I've reached that proof point. And again, I think both can work, Andre, but I think for me it was super important. What I've learned is like you can try to be best in everything versus I believe if you sequence, put your goals, push on really what you believe where really the market is, where you can drive value for the company. Let's accept that other things are failing or even not going well. And once you are again, when you reach a new milestone, then you can say, okay, and now we accelerate investment, for example, X, Y, Z. To be very honest, today in a company of much bigger as back in the days, we still do the same. We ask us every quarter what is the thing that we need to stop, because also that's an important question. And he really sequencing is for us key in accelerating the company.
So let's you just mentioned something that I saw you in the research for this episode. I saw you mention quite a bit, either at conference speeches or in your LinkedIn posts. Um, like things that you have to stop doing are just as important, or like just like things that you have to keep doing. And in Belgrade, where our conversation basically started, you were a speaker at the Unlock It conference. You said that sometimes you have to know when to throw your playbook out of the window, right? So how exactly do you do that? How do you stop thinking like yourself? Like if your belief is, I believe that this approach will work, how do you stop thinking like yourself and just throw the playbook out of the window, start like basically critically, how do you critically think about your own decision making process? How do you stop doing something that you believe will work, or how do you, or like what, when do you know when to persist and when to, and what to stop basically?
Yeah, we brought always, of we took a decision to always starting off. If we look to Destiny and if we say like we want to be a relevant company in 3, 4, 5 years from here, what are the key battles where we need to win? And the whole system was for us like choose your battles. And choose your battles means choose only 3 battles. And don't come to tell me that like having a nice CRM or ERP system will make that we will differentiate. And maybe you need this to enable your point, but what will make that we're gonna win in the industry? And I think that way why we have learned, and again now we pivoted in the way of working, but like if you have that clear, and if you say, okay, these are the battles, if we really achieve this, then we believe that we are a great company, that we are a competitive company, that we can. That was always the key, and it always gives us like call it like an framework is a big word, but like a glossarium where you always can go back to and to say, okay, in what we are doing, can we link it to our battles? And that was key. I think the mistake that I've done and mistake of the learnings what I've done is a little bit of reflection what you said. It's like, and then you start to become to try to be the perfect company. We need to be good in everything internal. We need to be external in everything what's fine. And then you launch a lot of like initiatives in your own company, even in a smaller company, and people are lost. And so the I think simplicity is say like, look, if we really understand where we really, if we win on our battles, because we believe that's where the real value is, then we need to accept that things are not going well. But we also need to accept that we sometimes need to say, hey, is this something what we are doing now? Is this really drive value for the future? Yes or no? And if not, even when it creates some cash or whatever, let's just stop it. And because and what I've learned is by asking these questions, because we have an attitude always to start new things, because we believe as founders, entrepreneurs, and because an entrepreneur he loves to start new things, is to start new things. But what I've learned is sometimes you need to also stop things to create and to come with new ideas, and these are not always the most easy decisions. That means that sometimes you need to stop, I would say, selling pieces of your technology, what you say, these were so important in the past. But what I believe, like, it will not bring value anymore in the future. So let's just kill it and use these resources to for another one. So that's something what we have done often.
How often do you, and like how often do you um how often do you ask these questions? What do we
Every
need
quarter,
to
every
every
quarter, and yeah, and it's not me. We ask it to our people. We ask let them come with ideas. It's a question that in every quarterly review, and the same around budgets. I don't believe in yearly budgets because a budget is made to be very honest. Everyone is making a budget to fail. It could be positive or negative, but you will never be on budget. So why we need in a time frame of this, and that's so we work really in quarterly cadencing. So the cadence with the team is in quarterly, and that's something we already started back in the years. And even in a bigger company, we still do the same. That means that we have the opportunity. We don't have like even the bigger company as of today. I can say, hey, here this is going well. We see really value. Hey, I take the resources for something what's not going well, and I just shift them and I push them on things where I believe we can create a lot of value.
interesting. So how much of a decision of like what's going to happen in the next quarter is down to you, for example, as the CEO versus your, department heads and their ideas and their vision of what they should be doing in the next quarter, or like what the initiatives should be in the next quarter?
I think that it's a good question. It's also an important one. The the reality is like if you work on a quarterly base, is you also how can you find the balance between optimizing, because what we learned in the last quarter we optimize to the next quarter, etc., versus really about what is the long-term strategy of the company. And I think my role with myself and as a key person in this is like always thinking about, okay, well, that's Dstny today, but what are we tomorrow? What is the next? And I always study to my team, what is the next and next after next of this company? And I think you need to do, so that's the reason that like we will every year we will review our must-win battles based on I think, and there a lot of, there's a big input coming from me, like, look, this is the industry, this is, I believe, this is the direction we need to go, and now bring this back to what are the battles. If you want to become Dstny, let's say in 30, what is 20 to 2030, what is the type of company? And I think that's what I've done always, is finding the balance between you have the long-term strategy and you have the execution. And when I say execution is about agility, about fast learning, and in a today environment, in a very complex environment where the world is screaming for humanity. We have AI playing a big role. Even more, you need to have like that fast learning and high energy type of environment to pivot. I think the companies who have the attitude to pivot fast will be probably the winners. The companies who don't do, there will be a loser. So also we win. And I don't say that I will win, but at least I'm going to try to become one of these pivoters to
Got it. And this is the perfect sort of a transition into what I wanted to talk next, which is um, you are now Dstny is now at about 300 million in revenue, right? And now most companies, most founders at this stage sort of look to protect what they've built. Yet you've been quite vocal that like AI might just like change the whole industry where you when you that you're working in. So you are sort of looking at, you now mentioned 2030. So how does Destiny look like in 2030? Like what do you think will change in the industry? What do you think like the next steps should be for Destiny, or like for companies in general?
Ha- First of all, it's like if you take if you start thinking about Destiny, we are in the communication software coming from what they call in our space UCaaS, Unified Communication, CPaaS, and contact center type of applications. Let's be very honest. This is a technology piece of technology what exists probably the last 20-25 years, and you could argue like, yes, we are growing in seats 10, 15, 20% year on year. We are now not far from 6 million seats on our platforms, being in different markets in Europe and Europe, US, and also in a few other parts of the world. Um, But do we believe that like with our technology, where the analysts are telling us that you will still grow for the coming 3, 4, 5 years, I'm not convinced that we will be relevant in 5 years from here. Because like, first of all, the new companies, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, and what is it always, I don't believe that they will consume my technology as it is today, because they will just not consume it. And second, there is then the way how communications will change due to artificial intelligence will be in my opinion dramatically. We will communicate completely different. Voice will be a new operating system where we will have different agents within companies in our private life. There will be an agentic flavor where you have multi-agent environments. So that means that like, yeah, it will where we coming from a software, from a subscription based on a user perspective, that your model will becoming changed, because today my technology was served by, call it, a human workforce, but there will be also a digital workforce, call it agents, who will start to consume my technology, who doesn't need a description. They don't have any holiday. They don't have, so they're always available, etc. So you feel already, if you look to this part and you say, okay, I start to explore, and you say, okay, our technology, our industry will be quite significant, call it disrupted. And to be very honest, most of my colleagues, they try to add on top of the legacy, call it, to build some stuff to at least protect it. Where I took the bet, and again, we will see if it's successful. I believe that we need to transform, complete our entire technology, our company, where like we will play, where we will say voice will be the new operating system, but how can we create and leverage on top of this? We have a lot of telcos as our customers, big telcos. They're all are nervous because voice was for years a protection layer on their connectivity, on their internet services, mobile services. And now there are all AI agents. There are a lot of startups, because in voice bots we have dozens of thousands. But then I think like, are we very well positioned? Yes, in a certain way, yes, because like adding our service voice into an AI bot is easy. But adding AI into voice, where you have presence, where you have signaling, where you have certain security layers, etc., that starts already to be super complex. And there we already patented technology already much years before that everyone was before everyone heard about ChatGPT. And I think that layer will be the success of our company. And that means that your company, that you need to tell to your company, like, hey guys, what we are selling today, in a way it's legacy, but yes, we need to secure because we are growing fast. But if we're just doing this, we will be obsolete. So we need to see that we really shift a lot of resources, new type of way of working, build it, and build new technology. And that's what we are doing as we speak.
Got it. So in a way, years ago you decided to build your own tech stack instead of just purchasing tech stack, right? From what I understood, and that tech stack right now is going to be sort of the defense, or like why you have an advantage, why you have a unique advantage.
Our role will be different. We will be like an operating system where you can build or deliver agents on top of it. We funnel this in existing, call it all this, what we call call control systems, who are still in the market. We can funnel this independently from all these legacy stacks, where our is also legacy, but we can run it also on our competitors. And they even cannot block us. And I think that's the play where we are betting on. And we believe if we do it right, we can be super high value for like big telcos. Like I will give example, Deutsche Telekom, all these big ones who are all looking for this type of technology. And I think there we are super well perceived. But again, it's always a challenge, because you 1,000 people, you need to turn the beast in a different direction.
How do you do that? Because these are 1,000 people that joined, or like probably like 950 of them joined before the AI revolution, and they bought into a different vision of the company, right? So AI changed like how Destiny is going to look like in 2030, right? So how do you steer the ship, like the whole ship? How do you pivot a company with with 1,000 employees? How do you how do you convince them that this is the right decision? Do you start with the board and say, look, I know that we are right now growing at 15% a year, and I know that like your investments are safe and so on, but we need to burn basically everything that we did and like build something new that's going to be bigger and better? Or do you start with your heads of departments that convince their employees? Like, where do you start? How did these conversations start in such a large company?
To look back, like for me, was like 1 year ago, where you feel like, okay, the world is changing. It's changing fast. We were already anticipating with patents and IP that we protected already back in the years, and we say. So what I did was like I feel some discomfort because growing. If you grow a company is fast, but when you grow, you don't see what is under the hood, and there is also things. But then your growth starts, and that we had a little bit start a little bit flattening, and then you see immediately, I will say, then the call it complexity is popping up, and because when you grow, it's easy, but when you start to, you're big, and when you start to, it's going a little bit less faster than. So then you start to look, and you just look back, and you say, okay, I was looking back, and I say I'm super proud about what I was building. I said this was my strategy, but is this still strategy? Is this still valuable? And I think you need to be then you need to also accept that maybe you need to change it dramatically. And I think that means you need to be. It's an attitude you say, okay, you need to accept even in a company what's growing, what's nice, that you need to do things differently. And so what I did was I wrote like 4 scenarios. Scenario 1, 2, 3, 4. I had the preferred scenario. Then you went to your board and you say, okay, look, this is where you are, but my belief is like your investment will be not the right one. If we don't do it, I'm not convinced that you will do the right returns in a few years. So why not just we need to transform. It will cost some money. It will cost some effort, etc. And that happened. There was a discussion what I had with my board, and they were super supportive because for them it was even the fact that I did it as a CEO without that they asked me would give them a lot of comfort that I'm critical enough to also to accept to pivot and to accept that I need to look completely different to our company. Even when we have built a great company, it's a great asset. We have great people, and I think there was a discussion. It triggered a discussion, and then we had like over summer, we did some validation on what kind of direction, and then we say, okay, do we believe? Are we all in on this transformation? And everyone was telling me yes. And in the meantime, yeah, we are having the execution. This is probably the biggest and most challenging transformation that but you see the energy. What you see with your team is if you explain things simple and if you have a strategy who looks simple and when you can explain, look, this is simple. This is the way how we're going to go to market. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And they understand this. Then then you can really, then you see energy popping up. And when you make strategy complex, I've done it back in the days too, then people are lost. They're coming and become a little bit apathies, what they call it. So like they're more in a waiting type of zone. And so we were like, so we simplified our strategy. We made it super sharp. This is the direction. We explained this. We created like 35, 40 people, ambassadors below us who really believe where you see our Suki users. And that are like your ambassadors, your change ambassadors to do the transformation. But it's a good thing, but it also gives a lot of it means for in my view last month I was traveling a lot, explaining to all teams, give them honest feedback, just looking them in their eyes and say, look guys, this is what we're gonna do. Trust the process. We're gonna do this. I need people with high energy. I need people who will battle. I need people. We need, if we want to really become a great company, we need to create that agility. And yes, we will work differently, and people who will not follow, they will go out. That's also something because I cannot build a a company where people will not go in. If we, I would say, if we go agentic in the way of work and we completely redefine the process, yeah, you cannot accept that one developer is too hard coding, another one where orchestrating like it's the whole point. And so, but at Yont, I also committed them. We are here to support you. We are here to help you. We are here to train you, to support you in this sport. But we need to have an attitude from you that you're afraid, that you're reminded that there is willingness to move with us.
And in that timeline of we need to start working on the AI stuff. It's here. It's gonna change our lives today. To no, we're just getting started, and this is like we're barely sort of, you know, putting our feet in the water. Like, where do you think we are on the sort of AI timeline, and how the companies are using it, and like how AI is changing things? Where do you think we are on the timeline of AI
I
adoption?
still in the early adoption of AI. I think AI, I was at MWC, but for us in Barcelona, the entire industry is there. The two things that you see there is like AI was everywhere and data sovereignty was everywhere. But my belief is also what I see speaking with customers, with entrepreneurs, with CEOs of companies in different countries. There is still a huge disconnect between the way what you read and AI is everywhere versus the way how it's consumed and how it's really transforming a lot of companies. And I always put this back to my own company, to my people, and I always give the image of in the back in the days when for me AI is like electricity. I think in 5 years we will not speak anymore about artificial intelligence. Today we also don't speak anymore that this device is consuming electricity and has changed our life quite dramatically. So you will see, I think, in my opinion, you see two waves. I think first of all the way how we consume this. Most, in my opinion, of the companies consuming today AI, it's like when electricity came, you had like a light bulb, and you put it, and it gives us the opportunity to work like 1 or 2 hours longer because when it was dark, we could stay working. And then you have like other companies who say, hey, with electricity, we can start to build machines, and with these machines, we can build a factory who is not working anymore manual, but will be a new type of factory. And I think that's what's happening. And I think companies, young companies, I would say your listeners, I think they have the opportunity because they have the agility. Even we as a 1,000 big company, I believe we still have the agility to really transform and build another type of company where you will have like coming from, call it the last 100 years where everything was hierarchical, where we had like the logic of if, then, that, etc. Versus now, hey, we will have a workforce. The workforce will have we will have a digital workforce with agents. We will have people. We will have an agentic framework of a multi-agent environment, and we're gonna give them and the role of a human will change because we will give them a goal. They will do in 6 days what we did in 6 months because they can work parallel. And we as a human, we need to see that we can create these and we need to orchestrate. So our job will change dramatically. And I think that's the opportunity you will see. And for sure, I'm sure if you speak about scale ups, etc., they have the opportunity. I believe that competition could be a company of 100 million ARR with 20 people. We will see more and more this type of companies popping up who completely did it. And we are already in the state where we need to adapt, we need to change. And again, in my opinion, the real AI breakthrough is if you say my key process, for example, we all are call it coding or creating software or AI tools or applications, but you can say, okay, that's every developer can use. I give an example, GitHub or Cloud Code, but that's supporting his job. Versus now we're gonna create call it a diamond with different agents. What are that agents? We have a Q&A agents. We have product agents. We have agents who will create the documentation. We will have the coders, and we as human, we're gonna give these agents a goal. We're gonna orchestrate and the output. So it only work, and that's what we are doing now with Dstny on the scale of more than 300 developers. And we are still not there, but we are really processing and really say, let's start. You need to start with a blank page, and we are redesigning our core process where from a complete different point, and it means that every developer, I'm convinced, in 5 months from here will work completely different. It doesn't mean that today are we already consuming a lot of AI. Yes, every developer is somewhere already using, but are we really transforming? That's where we are in the middle in, and that's the way what I believe. That my belief is that this will really split really between the real winners, and probably also other ones will lose. And this also, if you do it right, then you can really have call it output and drive innovation 10 times faster as you do today. But it means that you need to start, forget what you have today. You need to start from scratch. And what I've learned, and I think that's the point, I think that's the opportunity for companies like us. And even we are already quite significant company in number of people, but if you're small, we know that, like, imagine you are a big enterprise and you need to change the entire workforce. The problem in this is not technology. It's not building an agentic context where you have the data layers. The problem is the adaptability. Is your organization, are your people capable to adapt? And I think the biggest work, I still remember when we started this process, and we had a consultant in supporting us in setting up, and he was looking to my head of HR, and he told me, you will have the biggest job. And I think that's where we are. So we, and the only tip what I can give them to your listeners is, if you do this and you want, really focus on the big elephants. And the big elephant is what is the, call it, the process what really can drive and bring a lot of money on your bank. That's I think the most important part. But companies will change. I'm completely convinced that you will have a different type of company in 5 to 10 years. You will see totally different companies as you have today. The way how they are organized, the way how they're looking to our workforce, the way how you consume and use technology, the way how jobs will be changed, etc. And then if you say, okay, the risk is, don't speak then about like it's a cost-cutting AI. No, it's like, if we do it right, we can really push revenue, create new revenue streams, going faster. Because yeah, you need to deal with people who are scared to lose their job. That's the reality where we are in.
Kudos that you're doing that at such a stage of the company, because it would be way easier to just ignore the elephant in the room and take the safe road, say like we're still growing like 15% every year, so like we don't need to change, and just keep doing what you've been doing for the past 15-20 years. So like I really respect that you're able to, as you said, like throw your basic playbook out of the window and rebuild um,
But
basically.
I think, then again, I think the key attitude we need today, and in my opinion, yeah, we can speak about all values and company values, etc. But for me, the attitude is, my view is, in the environment of today, is fast learning and having that agility and having high energy and dare to, and that's always that's also what I've learned. And when I was smaller, and even I told to my team last year, we need to be much more bullish, bold in taking decisions, big decisions. And it's tough because often we don't do it, we don't like it. We like to take, even we believe it's a big decision, but it's not a big decision. A really like breakthrough is like really focus. And so we are in that, we took that decision. And again, Andre, maybe in a few years we can do this again, and I completely failed. But maybe I also won. For me, I will do everything to be successful. I don't know, but that's my belief. And I think if you don't believe in it, don't do it. My belief is, like, in the company as of today, if I want to become the best company, if I really want my purpose, where I really want to bring and give time back to my people who consume our technology, um, and we want to be the best, we need to see that we are also that we can turn the ship in a different, and that we can create another. And yes, sometimes I also stress that maybe you are already too late. But if I speak with a lot of companies, then I feel that probably are still not too late. At least we have already a strategy. Now it's about execution. We are in the middle of this process. that I see a lot of companies today struggling because everyone is speaking about AI. Everything knows that something will happen, but most of the companies, and I speak more about traditional companies, owners, founders, CEOs, they have no clue how to start it. No clue. And that's reality. And I think we as, and for sure your listeners, tech companies, they can create like, I think like starting now a company, when you do it right, you can create a lot of assets. At the other end, I think in the AI application layer, it will be a graveyard of a lot of these. They will go bankrupt because it's going fast. But if you build the right type of company, I think there's a huge, there is a huge opportunity.
So the opportunity is in the market. In the market, you just have to see it, believe in it, and execute it. That's it.
But
Um,
again, this aspiration, it's about belief. It's about thinking about the next after next, being today bullish in your decision. I think you need to be bold and don't do it with small things. Being bold, I think, is needed in this world and take the right decisions. And then we will see. And at the end, again, strategy is the easy part. It's about execution. So you need to see that your people are with you, and that doesn't mean that they need to follow you. I always say you need to have friction to be successful, and that's something what we try to do. But friction in an environment where you have where you can make mistakes. But if you make a mistake, again, learn fast and then going for the next. And then I believe if you do it right and you sequence, then yeah, you can even build a bigger or greater company as you are today.
Nice. Friction creates diamonds, right? All right, Dan. Thank you so much. Our time is up, but I really wanted to thank you for your thoughts and your words. I really love the insights. I'm sure the audience will too. For people who follow you or want to disagree with you, where can they find you?
I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so I think always happy to invite or to share my LinkedIn profile. So it's up to you, but I think love to be. I try to inspire people also on that part. I think that's also one of my as a role, something that I can give back to the community is to inspire people, and I can learn from them. So that's a little bit who I am. So happy to have a new bunch of followers on my LinkedIn profile.
There you go. We'll share the your LinkedIn URL in the description below. Thank you so much, Dan, for taking the time. Truly appreciate it. Thank you.